Welcome to a recap of the Cannes Film Festival. I'm gonna do that with a bit of style, so we'll have also sprach Zarathustra. It is a bit loud. It does kind of fit with the Cannes Film Festival. I'm finally back after watching 70 movies there. I know you can't believe that. Like, how does he even do that? Don't ask me how. I don't even know how. But I got to see a ton of fun stuff, and we will go over it briefly. And if you have any questions about the festival experience, who I got to meet, I wrote down some questions that I think people would be curious about to answer. But also, chat is open. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, shoot. I'm ready. It's way too epic for like a live stream. But the thing that they show during all the for every screening is like they have one for the opening and the closing festival, which is this. And it's just like, it is a bit much. It is a bit like too over the top. But they also have, why am I playing it twice? No, sorry. They also have this thing, which it has changed. It's not the same for the last 13 years, but an iteration of one of these like steps thing. The music is still the same. So that basically opens every public screening, not the press screening ones, but just to give you a taste of what it feels like at a press like at screenings in Cannes, which I think after attending the festival, I think it still stands that Cannes is the biggest film festival of like the world the whole year round. I think it is the most important one. Maybe some people would say that like something like TIFF, a more public festival, is huge for, I guess, the Oscar buzz and what movies end up being relevant for that conversation. But then in the last few years we had something like Enora, The Substance, all of those films, even Emilia Perez, that were big players in the awards race premiere at Cannes. But what still stands the test of time is like it's Death, Taxes, and Neon winning the Palme d'Or since 2019. They have won every single one. So let me actually, I think there's a tweet that I didn't prepare, but basically, let me grab it for you here. So where is it? I guess this also covers it. So it's basically, you know, Neon has now won the Palme d'Or 5 years in a row. First with Parasite, with Titan, Triangle of Sadness, Anatomy of a Fall, Enora. And this was, I guess, last year's, because they also are adding It Was a Simple Accident to that list, the latest from Jafar Panahi, which was a bit of a surprise to some, because Sentimental Value was definitely the considered frontrunner by many when we collectively, as like the film journalists attending like the press premiere for that film, came out of the theater. We were all like, that's gonna win the Palme, right? That's gonna be the one that takes home the big prize. And then it didn't, which was a bit surprising. It's a bit of conspiracy theories going around as to why that is. I think It Was a Simple Accident. It's definitely an important film. It's also a well-made film, but it definitely wouldn't have been my choice to get that main prize, because, well, there were just better movies. So I think before I talk about anything else, it would be appropriate to maybe have a look at the 70 films that I've watched at the festival, and maybe give you a quick glimpse as to, like, you can also go over to my Letterboxd here to see this full list. Yo, what's up, Josh? Hope you're having your watch list ready. Not for the bottom part of this. I think, wait, is the Phoenician scheme all the way down here feels kind of cruel, but I just did not enjoy that one bit. But that obviously comes out this week, and we also had the premiere of where is it, somewhere in the middle here, Final Destination. Not Final Destination, sorry. Final Reckoning for Mission Impossible. It does kind of feel like death is coming for Ethan Hunt, like in Final Destination sometimes. But I think up to, like, what I noticed this time around, because when Lachlan was with me 2 years ago and we got to experience this, like, every night, we, like, on our walk home, we would talk about, like, the films we'd watched and kind of look for a common theme that kind of runs through the whole festival. And I struggled to do that, I think, this year. I don't know if there clearly is one. I think what is easy to say is that it is a weaker lineup than it was for the last 2 or 3. For the last 2 years, we're definitely stronger. That doesn't take away from the types of films that premiered here that were still really solid, but there's a ton of films that I didn't know anything about heading into the festival. Some late additions, someone who had previously films that I enjoyed, which were the debuts, someone who's been established, and then some films that I, like, had no clue, knew nothing about, that kind of blew me away. And then just, like, something like Nouvelle Vague was just really solid all around. No, like, rough edges, really clean and just kind of perfectly made for cinephiles. So that's kind of like, and with Richard Linklater, there's such a like an easy layup for me to enjoy something like this. So that was one of my most anticipated, and I actually quite enjoyed it as well. I watched Breathless, à bout de souffle, in preparation for it, and this was just very enjoyable. It was slight, there was not much to it, but it was funny, it was well made. So I think that's, like, the types of films that already like a lot of people have on their radar. But please tell me Die My Love is good. So Die My Love, let's talk about Die My Love, which, by the way, Josh just asked me question shoot. We'll do a bit of a free flow thing just to give you a bit of an heads up, or like an information about the type of coverage we're doing this year. Obviously, if you look at the channel, there hasn't been anything out for like a month. I did record about like 70 or 80 minutes worth of reviews, like about 8 or of them, like shorts and full videos, before I had it to con. I just didn't get around to actually editing them. I'm doing that right now, so those will come out first, and then we'll have overviews for certain sections of the festival. Like I plan to do like up until like 23, up until here, Resurrection, we have the competition. I'm definitely doing a video on all of that, looking at some of the like out of competition ones, with the out of competition, pairing it up with the midnight screenings that are here. I didn't catch all that I wanted of those special screenings this year. I skipped a lot of them, but I did attend as many gun premieres as I can, and then also I think I basically saw 20 of Un Certain Regard. I think I missed 2 or 3 of them, but they were overall, I think, a bit better. Like they surprised me a bit in a better way than competition was. But it's always like kind of, because a lot of them are like more than half our debuts, you can't really go in with having sort of like expectations, like big expectations for them. And then I basically watched everything but one film of the Semaine de la Critique, the Critics Week, and then for the 15e, the Directors Fortnight, I also watched a few, and then for Acid I watched about like 2 or 3 of them, which I gotta say usually are like pretty lackluster films, and I think my least favorite film of the festival was also part of it. And yeah, it's a bit disappointing. So I think we can start at either end. We can talk about the worst, we can talk about the best first, but let's see if like Josh has any more questions. Oh yeah, you wanted to know about Die My Love. Sorry, I'm holding up on that question for you, my love. Didn't feel good coming out, but it's in my top 20 of 70. I think this was other than Sentimental Value, my most anticipated of the fest, and I can't help but say that I was a tiny bit let down by it. I think it has a couple too many threads that it wants to untangle, or like it wants to pull on so many strings, but it ends up making a mess that is, yes, it is intentionally there. I think it has a bunch of like rich, complex characters that are on like the verge of always like exploding in the way that like they behave. And that can be like quite frustrating, but that is the point, and that is where like Lynn Ramsey really shines with like these depictions of really like the darkest parts of humanity. I did catch up with We Need to Talk About Kevin before heading to the festival. That was like that was disturbing, and then You Were Never Really Here. I really enjoyed that film, and I can't say that I think this is my least favorite of hers that I've seen so far, just because I think it doesn't really have a through line that resonated with me at the end. I think Lakeith Stanfield's character was really underused, and I think it's one where like the technical side of it, like the aesthetics, mostly the performances as well, people are gonna focus more on Jennifer Lawrence. I thought that Robert Pattinson was the standout here. I really loved them. We're all like great. I just had a few issues with like the story, the narrative overall, that it like didn't grab me. It felt like it was going around in circles, again intentionally, but in a frustrating way, where I think as a movie itself, it didn't really close that. Not just like as a narrative, it was going for it to go around in circles. Like what it was trying to do there, I didn't really work for me. And I haven't read the book yet. It comes out next month. For some reason, it hasn't been out in like other than like a dubbed, a translated version here. So I'm curious to rewatch this, read the book before, but I'll definitely do a review for it beforehand, which I didn't finish up. I guess the plans for Gun. We're going to do like recaps of the different sections, but then also for I'd say about like half of these films, I will probably try and do a review for it. But again, I think that will keep me busy until the end of June. So we'll see how much I'll get out. But there's a plethora of like worthwhile films, especially ones that definitely will go overlooked, and then some who do have the platform that I'll spend limited time on like discussing why they didn't work. But I'll just let you know what's worth seeing and whatnot. But yeah, Alpha, you know, I did stay, let's actually grab Alpha here. I did stay with share a place with Chase Hutchinson. Shout out to him. Like last year, we did rent the place together, and he was one of the few. Actually, I guess there's a like Flynn from Letterboxd also liked it, and Clara from the House of Cinema podcast also liked it. I think I was definitely on the lower end, but what got a lot of traction was like the IndieWire review and a bunch of others that were just saying that it was like pretty much a mess. This was one where I think the one of the shortcomings of Gun is that it often does these press screenings. You can choose, either you watch it in the evening, which is like alongside the actual premiere of the film, or you watch it the next morning. And sometimes there's a few rescreenings later on where you have to travel to the town over. But the bad thing about this is like Die My Love, Alpha, Sentimental Value, Resurrection, all of these premiere at 10 p.m. And for me, doing like 5 to 6 movies a day, this is the part where I'm the most exhausted. And going into like these, like the big movies of Gun, usually, you know, on my battery life of my body already being like pretty much gone, means that I'm maybe not paying, like, I don't know, I don't have like my full attention there sometimes. And I did feel that with this movie, that I was tired, and not that I fell asleep or like didn't notice, but it was just like a bit harder to get me into the right mindset for this. And that's another difficult thing with film festivals. You got to like meet the movie where like it wants to go. Otherwise I feel like it's really disingenuous, and you can easily say something like it was horrible when you just maybe didn't get enough sleep, already saw 4 movies before. But this one just really grinded me down in a way where it is like about addiction and the like spiral of being caught up with it as like a girl from a young age into her teen years. And it just like the way that it, like, again, none of these reviews that I'm gonna do here or talk about the films, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Really try to stay clear of it, but I did feel like towards the end of the film, it did repeat like the same bits over and over again, and was kind of over explaining itself in a way that really took away from what had come before. And not that everything that came before was great. I think it also was shot in a really bland way. This sort of like apocalyptic world didn't really come through. But maybe this is just one that also, you know, I misunderstood. I didn't get. It's definitely one that I want to rewatch, and there's some people who have positive things to say about it, but it definitely isn't like up there with Eddington. I think pretty much everyone would agree with that. But she makes really polarizing films. I mean, yeah, just look at her filmography. It's all there. But yeah, what else? How do you feel about Jafar winning the Palme d'Or? I was not a fan of it. I actually, you know, the thing is, we did do maybe some, actually crazy that I didn't bring this up yet, but I did host a jury grid for Cannes. I invited 10 other film journalists to be a part of it, and you can actually find it on our socials, but also on our website here. And it is essentially giving you the overview of all the competition films. It's really tiny here. I can make it bigger. And then a few of the out-of-competition ones. We also collected, as you might have been able to see on our socials, for some of the Un Certain Regard, the midnight ones, the averages from participants, and shared them on there. But for us, it was, for me, it was clear that Sentimental Value is the deserving winner. And what I wanted to say, like after the closing ceremony, when it was announced that... where is it? It's towards the end here. A Simple Accident, or now it's changed the title to it was a Simple Accident, or just a Simple Accident, I don't even know. Was the winner. I had a ticket for Fiore and had to wait another hour because I did want to complete all of the competition films, but I low-key was so pissed off that it won, because I thought that was a bit of bullshit, because as you can see, I thought it was good. I didn't love the film. I didn't end up completing this. So it kind of irks me now, because you can see this perfect line, and then this Italian movie is yeah, no. I mean, I made the decision. I could have still gone, but I did watch most of them, and you can kind of see I mean, you can see the ratings on Letterboxd as well, but maybe in one's quick view that a lot of the films were like averaging around like somewhere between like the lower ends of 3, which is surprising, because sometimes you'd expect like a lot of like 4 averages for like really solid films like to resonate with more people, but it didn't really. And you can also see like the most popular films, a bunch of people left by the end, so you can see only a few people rating it all. But again, thanks to everyone participating. And you know, if you go to the Film Verdict first showing out now, Loud and Clear, discussing film, Luke's YouTube channel, The Wrap, and the Oscar Expert channel, as well as the Swiss 2 Swiss representations here with Out Now and Cinebilder. I think Out Now already published like around 35 to 40-ish reviews. They were really busy. So you can find a lot of like their thoughts on other stuff. And I think that's always the great thing about it, that like a ton of these people, a ton of press is there. That's the main focus. And you get to hear a lot of opinions from smart people, smarter than me, talking about all of these films. But yeah, all right, you got some more questions for me. Again, I think you're saying like 7 out of 10 is pretty solid. To me, up until the way of like a if like even a 3 out of 5, I would still say is pretty much worthwhile. There were just like then a couple of elements that didn't work for me. That's not like that the movie as itself is like good or bad, right? There's always this like nuance in there of like maybe you're more in tune for something like Reedland, which was I think the opening or second film of Semaine de la Critique. That was also Daniel Kaluuya was in our screening there. That was the first screening I had where just Justin, a brother bro from the Oscar Expert channel, walked up to me and was like, hey, hey, there you are. And then we watched this movie together, and it was definitely for him just like having had, I think he had a terrible experience like getting to the airport. He had like had to rebook his flight that got in like really late on the second, or like late on the first or second day. I don't even remember, but we watched this one and it was so like slow and it didn't really get anywhere. That there is that definitely that like sort of preconceived stereotype of this type of festival film that can get frustrating when they might like, you know, it might be a very different experience if it's like the one film you watch a week, other than like, you know, you're at a festival and it's the same type of story structure that you get to experience over and over again. But You Were Never Really Here is one of my favorites, and it's very excited. Yeah, see Ramsey's back. I mean, it takes a long time for her to get back. The one that I'm most excited for is Sentimental Value. Yes, no, it is well shot, well acted. It is all around, I think, to me, easily I could move this up to a 5 out of 5 on a rewatch. I don't really do those 5 out of 5s, but we'll talk about the other film that I actually broke that rule for. But I was also like blown away by Inga. She was really good. And then obviously Renate and Stellan on the closing ceremony night. I'm probably in the background of like a bunch of like videos people recorded when I was just like talking to Alex Billington from the first showing, and and we were just standing there, and then all of a sudden I guess they walked up to the press area, to the like press conference room, and then it was just like Stellan Skarsgård, Renate Reinsve, and like the Elle Fanning, the whole cast was just like next to us all of a sudden. It's like, oh, there they are. But yeah, so like that's sort of like a couple of days before talking about the Skarsgårds for Pillion. After that premiere, I think the day after, Alexander Skarsgård walked past me like randomly, and I witnessed a fun interaction that he had with like someone who was holding up a sign, because you see a ton of people who are outside who are looking for tickets so they can go see the films, and it was one that held up one for looking like highest to lowest ticket, and he like stopped and was looking at the thing and was like, oh, what are you looking for? And was like confused and didn't know what highest to lowest was. And I think the woman or the girl was like also didn't know that it was Alexander Skarsgård. She has like a really casual interaction to him, like talking to her. So that was like one of the funniest things to witness. It's a ton of that sort of stuff that happens, that like yeah, you just see the most famous people all around you, and yeah, out of nowhere. So that's kind of the fun thing. One of the fun things about Gun. I don't think Alpha is as grotesque as Titan. It definitely has like this sort of depiction of addiction and substance abuse that is like devastating, and it is like really gross to see in a way, like how it decays the body. But I think she doesn't overextend it as much as like something like cannibalism or like I don't know, there's just like certain sequences in Titan that just don't leave my mind, and I can't say the same about Alpha. It just felt like it didn't have that sort of neat focus that is like all of that like chaos that these other films at some point had. Like there's like a certain point in Raw and Titan where it feels like shit hits the fan, and to me that kind of never happened in Alpha. I know that it needs, you know, that movies need that all the time, but it just like didn't have anything that I really loved. A homesteading might help Alpha in the future. Yeah, I think for a lot of these, I am looking forward to the rewatch, and I'm not someone who actually rewatches a ton of stuff, but something like one of the first films here, The Sound of Falling, was so dense with how dreadful it was that I think a rewatch would definitely help. This ended up winning the jury prize, which is technically like a third-ish prize. It shared that prize with Sirat, which was a favorite among many to be like the best film at the festival. This was the only film where, unfortunately, I watched it with a group of guys who were there to cover the festival. This was the one film where I did have like a 5-minute-ish, maybe, I don't know, it was out for a couple of minutes, so I did miss a bit of it, unfortunately, because again, it was one of those like late screenings. So this is like up there first in line for a rewatch. And I think it also was picked up by Mubi. Overall, Mubi has always had a great selection that they ended up snatching up. So they got like Alpha, but I think that's also with Neon together. I don't know what this is, maybe a short for. I also saw Iñárritu like randomly one day when I was walking to like the press terrace. He was just standing there doing autographs and photos. Then Die My Love, I think a lot of these are like co-shared with Neon, and also because it is Mubi, they do have international distribution for some of them depending on like the country. I think below here it also said like Sirat is coming to Italy, Turkey, and India through them. And US, UK, Turkey, Canada, Ireland, and India for The Sound of Falling. So, you know, Mubi is doing international distribution. Neon is only, I think, in the States and maybe in the UK. I don't even know. But they had a bunch, like The History of Sound. It was just an accident. The Mastermind, which I also quite enjoyed. I'm not the biggest Kali Reichardt fan, but that one was pretty good. My Father's Shadow, which ended up winning the dual what is it called, like the camera award, basically the like debut feature, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it didn't win. Santa Guy won that. The Secret Agent, which obviously got a lot of buzz because it's Brazilian and depicts a time period that I think we've only recently kind of like got to take a closer look at in films that I know it's been like depicted a bunch in like smaller films like from Brazil, but not ones that have like reached an international stage, like with no, I'm blanking on it, last year's I'm Still Here, that premiered in Venice, and this one now here in Cannes. I didn't connect with it 100%, but I think there's a bunch of good stuff in it. But that ended up getting 2 awards for Wagner Moura in the lead performance, and then also for the director. I didn't see that, to be honest. I think that the directing prize should have gone to Bing Wang for Resurrection. I think that movie got like a special mention. I would have been fine with Wagner Moura taking home like that acting prize, but I don't see the double up here. I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity to not give him that nod. But Resurrection, also a very polarizing film on if you enjoy it or not. And then they also got Sentimental Value, Sirat, and Sound of Falling. So Mubi and Neon definitely won the festival as far as like just the sheer amount of movies that they got. And speaking of B Wang, B Gun, his movie got picked up by Janus Films for North America, which is incredible. So we can expect it hopefully later in the year. But this one was like a dreamlike experience. It's about like these basically dreamers and dream catchers, and you follow like the perspective of someone who dreams, and in that world things can obviously like change from one moment to the next, and how they imagine like their surroundings and their world to be. And that kind of transition was kind of seamless. I think the critiques that came its way were mainly that it lacks the focus on what it ultimately wants to be about, and where like the end note is on, that I don't want to take away for anyone who obviously hasn't seen it yet. And I just thought it was so mesmerizing in the way that it was shot. Like a lot of people left in the first like 10 to 15 minutes because it did something, I don't even know if I want to say, it did something so like out there that it was clearly like weeding out people who are not along for weeding out the people who are not along, like up to up for it essentially. And it was like, I had like a moment where I was like audibly going, damn man, I respect that, what he went for. So this was like, I know a lot of people were really excited when this got added late to the festival, but I just, this was a ton of fun. And you can see it reflected in how high it ranks for me personally, but I just thought this was great. Yeah, Mission Impossible, the new one, it's out, right? And I think to me, it's been already like everything that is relevant about like the criticism of this has already been said. I think the action set pieces are still like really mesmerizing. The underwater sequence and then the yellow propeller plane thing are really well done. I also really like Simon Pegg in this. He's very funny. But the rest of it, I think there's too many characters, there's too much exposition, there's too many MacGuffins. It's just a bit of like too much, that it felt so much like it had to catch everyone up to speed, and it didn't need to be almost 3 hours long for what it ends up doing action wise. I feel like it does feel dragged out, and then the action sequences, I can't even talk anymore. Again, I'm still recovering from watching 70 movies. Don't even leave that much of an impact, because it feels like it drained me so much when it was just like dumping the amount of exposition on me before. So yeah, I think that those are my thoughts on Final Destination. Dude, the Pillion screening was incredible. So the way that it happens in Un Certain Regard is usually in the afternoon. You have these screenings that are not just for press, but they're public. There's no press screenings for certain sections. So there is ones for, sometimes they are for like out of competition, mainly they aren't. For out of competition, you do get a press screening. For some of the midnight screenings, for the Gun premiere, for the special screenings, you do get press screenings, but not for Un Certain Regard. All of those films, there will be a premiere where like the people who made the film are like present, and I think a lot of the stories that you hear from the amount of like clapping that goes on, not the I guess standing ovations as much, but just the clapping as the logos pop up, and sometimes there's like 3-4 minutes of just logos coming up, showing up again and again. It's crazy that, like, you know, the people who are part of those companies then clap, and towards the end of the festival it also starts to happen in press screenings because everyone makes fun of it. There's also this ongoing thing that, especially in the evening press screenings, someone screams Raoul. So, I don't know. There's a bunch of insider bits that I don't know if they ever leaked outside of these press screening rooms, so I'm happy to share them because it's pretty funny. But it's also, I don't know, sometimes it like goes back and forth between like people being excited and screaming, and then everyone going shh, and then it goes back to like, it goes back and forth, and then it's like by the time the actual like dialogue of the movie starts, everyone's like actually silent. So I like that about the press screenings. Usually everyone's pretty well behaved once it's actually starts, and you can't really say that about some of the public screenings. Some of the stuff that happens there can be quite annoying. But Pillion was so much fun. So it has like Henry Melling as a really submissive guy who is like basically willingly going under the thumb and under the boot of Alexander Skarsgård, who and they have this sort of I don't even know if it's like it's not really a sub-dom relationship. There's definitely like a I guess it is like by its taking being his submissive. So I guess that is what it is. This is very cleverly written. The humor, like the timing, the way that it's shot is incredibly impressive for a debut. And it was just a blast. Like, this was from beginning to end, had heart, it had so many laughs, just really well made. So keep this one on your radar. But again, it came with a bit of star power, and I think for that reason it's already probably going to be seen by a bunch, so that's great because it's also a good movie. But yeah, movie knocked it out of the park. They care about us Brits. Yeah, they don't care. The thing is, getting stuff in Switzerland is difficult. Like, for example, Bring Her Back. Yeah, the new film from the Philippines. I think it does have distribution here. For some reason, Sony is doing it, or maybe the distribution for it internationally as well. But the release date is August 7th. So it's literally coming out this week. I know. It's just frustrating. It takes like months on months for stuff to release, sometimes later here. The UK definitely does have that, like, I guess, better position of also being English speaking, that they can kind of get it there a bit more easily. Yeah, the images of Resurrection, I truly think that, like, if you like film history, and if you just like the sometimes the surreal and artsy part of film, and just like something being aesthetically pleasing, this will be up your alley. But it's not going to be for everyone, but I think most people ended up enjoying it. The people who did not, maybe are not as, like, it feels like a pretentious film to say, but if you enjoy like studying up on film, reading up on film history, watching older films, I think this is just like such an appreciation for all of that. So yeah. It doesn't come. Bring Her Back also doesn't come out for you until August. It's crazy. All right, let's see what other... Josh, if you got any other questions, let me know. I can give a shout out to the people. I guess I already did that with the jury grid, but I did meet a bunch of people, like some people for the first time. I mean, I did meet a couple people again, and it was nice that they remembered me. Like, I ran into Carsten Runquist a couple of times. Saw him filming like something with a camcorder, and he said he's like doing like a vlog thing style for his approach to covering the festival. I don't know if he ended up doing that for the whole thing, because I only saw him do it for the first couple of days, but that looked interesting. I met two of the co-hosts. I didn't meet Joe, Cinema Joe, but I met Sydney Volpe and Clara Curtis, I think is her name. And I've been watching a bunch of like Sydney's reviews beforehand for like the last like 2-3 years, so it was nice to meet them. I met Tom from like Stories of Old, so that was very, very pleasant. Watched a couple of movies with him, talked with him a bunch, so that was nice. And it's always nice to like catch up with Justin, brother bro on the Oscar Expert. He is always someone who's also, if you looked at the jury grid, he did see as many of competition as he could. He was also publishing and recording reviews as he was there, so that was truly impressive, because for me, I'm not writing or doing anything while I'm at the festival. That's all for like work yet to be done. So mad respect to people who can like turn stuff out while they're still there. But yeah, there are a bunch of like familiar faces: Matt Neglia, Ben Rolfe, Luke Hearfield, the Out Now crew, David Cuevas, who I think saw like a couple of times last year, but then towards the end of the festival we ended up watching a bunch of stuff together. So yeah, lots of people who also aren't just like not in the space of older media of like editorial written stuff, but a bunch of people who got into the festival, who like are doing video reviews, which is exciting to see that like Ghana is embracing all of that. And I think if you can make it there at one point, there are these like passes that you can get into. And I talked to a bunch of people because I was interested in maybe forwarding that information to people who would be, interested in it. But there's like this 3-day program that you can be a part of, and essentially the way to apply is that you don't even have to be in like film school or like studying or whatever. It's basically, I think everyone, I don't know if there's an age limit, but you can apply and you have to send in a letter of motivation of why you are interested in film. But what some people told me is that they had the impression that no one is even reading them that that much. So like maybe it's just like enough to send one in to write in a motivation letter, and you should get that like 3-day pass. Downside of Gun is until like 3 or 4 days before the festival started, we did not have the schedule of it. So obviously when you're applying for like one section of the festival, you don't know which movies are even going to be available. And I don't even know how easy it is for those to get like screenings. Like for me this year, I got this pass. Wait, I can maybe show you with this. I got this pass, which is blue. And the 2 years before, I had the golden one, and there's like basically a couple different tiers for Gun when it comes to press. I think some people have told me what the difference is. I don't think there's like a huge difference. I think this is just because it's my 3rd year going as press, 4th year in total, that they like bumped me up. But we went through with Quiet on Set this year, and the last 2 years we were with Cineman. So that was really nice to see like get bumped up, even though like we are obviously a tiny channel compared to like the established big brands and the trades and everything, and even some other people who are there with their YouTube and social media accounts. So yeah, that was really nice, and hopefully I'll get the blue one next year as well, although I don't know if it makes a huge difference. I basically got most of the tickets that I wanted. The only big film that I missed that I wanted to see was Honey Don't, but then I only heard bad things about it. And then also I missed A Private Life, Vie Privée de Newfound from Rebecca Zlotowski, because I had to make a decision between Eleanor the Great, because I didn't get the ticket for the premiere for that. That was one. That was the one thing. So the one thing that like was really hard to get into was all of the premieres from like really popular I guess actors. So there were 3 of them in this year. So the first one that I did get to see was Harris Dickinson's Urchin. He also stars in it in like a smaller role, but it's basically Frank Delane's I guess really character study, character showcase of a rough sleeper in London trapped in a cycle of self-destruction as he attempts to turn his life around. And I think this movie ends up being a really well-rounded depiction of like that sort of life and the struggles with it, while not like over dramatizing it all, but making him seem like a really actualized like human. So that was quite respectable. I like that a lot, and definitely one to look out for. Also watched Eleanor the Great. I think Urchin had those rougher edges that make it a more interesting film than Eleanor the Great, because I was a bit surprised that like I see the or is it the Rotten Tomato or the Metacritic score was like under 50 for this one, or it was like rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I can see where people are coming from, because it is a pretty like story that has been done like countless times before about someone making a big lie, living on the lie, building up relationships and trust through that, and it all being under the false pretenses of not being honest. And then obviously at some point it comes out that she's not honest, and then a reaction to everyone around it, and then it's like the effect versus intent or whatever, like, you know, where good intentions overall but you ended up hurting people, like that sort of thing is what you get. But the thing is, you got June Squibb in the lead role, who like does quips every other line. Some of them land, some of them don't. I think she sometimes is not working 100% in like the lines she's given, but when it hits, it's really funny. So it's a mixed bag for me, but it's just like a really enjoyable film. So can't really knock it down too much. So that's Scarlett Johansson's debut. And the last one that I did not end up seeing was a chronology of Water from Kristen Stewart. It was crazy how people wanted to see this so bad. But yeah, I just couldn't make it to that screening, and I don't know if they did. I don't know, for some reason I didn't even get to see the reshowings of it. It might have been a situation where I would have had to sacrifice one or two other films to get to see this, and my brain doesn't function that way. I need to maximize the amount of movies that I can see. But as you can see, like, it was well received by many. I think I really like Chase's review up on the Wrap that I recommend everyone go read. I think he enjoyed this quite a bit. So I will have it on my radar, like everybody else who didn't attend Gun, but that's that. I should maybe show you. I didn't show you, I guess. But Urchin here, if you didn't know, and then Eleanor the Great, and then Chronology of Water were the 3 movies I talked about. Not showing you. I don't think the direction in Urchin was like something too crazy. It was like, in a way, held back, and if I remember correctly, a bunch of it was shot like a bit further away, so it felt like at parts you were observing, much like you were an onlooker to maybe someone being like out on the street, and you see that interaction, but then it quickly like goes closer, like moves in closer to give you his perspective. But if I remember correctly, with the camera, it never loses that sort of objective point of view quite a bit. Not that it like is completely detached from his experience, but like, the thing is, it didn't stand out to me. I think it was like well directed because I didn't notice any big directing things, right? And it's not that type of movie. It's about taking in the character, and that really worked. So again, I think I was I wouldn't say I was impressed by Scarlett's directing, because it was like pretty generic. I think the directing is probably like one of the most boring parts of it. It's just Tune Squibb who's really enjoyable. I think here it's the whole package. I think also the lead performance works really well. Yeah, Gun is a bucket list film. I'm a film festival for you. It's definitely, I think, more achievable than people think. And the thing is, like, I don't like going to the actual premieres, because if it's after 7 p.m, it's usually 2 to 3 screenings. Well, I guess 2 screenings a night that require like this really strict dress code. And if you do that, then you basically, and you do the thing that I do with watching 5 or 6 movies a day, you'd have to walk around in a tuxedo all day, which I'm not gonna do. So I completely skipped these screenings. But then also, I had a couple of run-ins where towards the end of the festival, there were just like some of the festival employees, or like specifically one, I can call him out, I can make a sketch of him, that are just like complete assholes. And so that was kind of frustrating. That's the reason why I ended up missing Fuori, was because I got shut out of one screening, and I like crashed out because they wouldn't let me in, because I had like a third of a baguette in my backpack, and it didn't let me throw it out. He was like, you gotta leave the whole thing, and I got really mad. It was a press screening as well, and there was no reason for him to like get up on a high horse. I'm still hung up about it, and I will be mad about that, I think, still into next year, and I will not forget it, because that was infuriatingly frustrating. That, and it's only the last screening of the night. It's always the same guy, and it's always if you go up to balcony. So I'm holding on to that I'm holding on to that grudge. I'm not letting go of that, because I had a couple of run-ins, because this was not at the end of the festival, and I gave him dirty looks all festival because he was a dick, and he still is a dick. But the rest of it, I think, is really smooth. It's just tons of like really friendly, great employees that just are really forthcoming, and I love that. It's just like you got a bad apple there. Yeah, no, it's bothering me. What is about editing that most are hating? Kind of sad that it's tanked a little. The reception for this one will be messy, because the way that Eddington works is that it throws every sort of idea of the last couple of years of like relevant political jargon, it kind of throws it at you all at once, and it kind of loses sight of its characters along the way, especially Joaquin Phoenix, who goes again. No, I'm not really again. No spoilers. Where he goes from someone who is, reluctant with who sees sort of someone being left behind and is frustrated by someone who has asthma, who has to put on a mask. This is said during the early days of COVID, and sort of like, people being denied of certain rights, and has like his gripe with Pedro Pascal's character, who's the mayor, that I've rooted personally, but it also wants to like make a larger point about the political system of the benevolent and the ignorant succeeding over those with maybe better intentions. But then it's also about how everything is just a fucking mess, and it's about conspiracy theories and full-on action, and it's just a mess, but not in a good way. It feels like it's just throwing everything at the wall and trying to say that was the point. I did want to showcase how much of a mess and how ridiculous it all is, but I'm not laughing at the thing he's like in his scenario and what he's putting on screen, but this sort of really childish attempt to just like make fun of it. It feels like I'm making more fun of like the attempt than the movie itself. Like it definitely is like a really like a nothing burger of like a satire. And it has a couple of people like Emma Stone and Austin Butler who aren't really doing much in the movie. So yeah, really, the only reason I'm not lower on this, because it definitely can, I understand people who are really low on this, is because it is quite entertaining. I think in my notes somewhere I wrote down in the third act it completely lost me. But I think it ends pretty well again. So yeah, just similar to Beau is Afraid, which I did enjoy quite a bit more than this. It is pretty rough, but I'm sure that a lot of people will end up like liking this more than I do. Some will hate it more than I do. I'm somewhere in the middle. I was entertained, even though I don't think it was a good movie. But on a technical level, it's still Ari Aster. It's not like he's fucking that part up. But what else is there? What else? Again, this is just like a bit of a roundup, bit of an, ask me anything AMA thing. As always, I think if you go to the festival, you can skip Tuesday, Wednesday, like, because there's actually just usually a longer film restoration, and then the opening screening, and that movie is also simultaneously being screened in like a bunch of other theaters in France. So like, maybe if you want to attend the full festival and you don't want to miss this opening film, which is usually not a good film anyways, you could like, make a trip, go to Paris for a bit, or like some other nice French town, watch the movie there if you really want to see it, and then on Wednesday head to the festival. And also the first day on Wednesday is when the screenings of Semaine de la Critique, like the Critics Week and Directors Fortnight, like opens. Although I would recommend you not go to the Directors Fortnight. I did that 2 years in a row, and they have like an hour and a half of preamble where they just like have so many people who come out and talk until the movie starts. It takes like forever, and I got really frustrated with that again this year because I had to leave early to make another screening that was at the Palace. But yeah, those would be my like quick tips for it. But I think you'll even find if you do the 3-day thing, you definitely do it like in the obviously not, I wouldn't say do it in the first week, although there's usually on the weekend a couple of films that might be worth seeing. But you probably best to do it like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably in the second week. That's where the juicy stuff is happening. Oh my god, look who's back in the kitchen to cook up some more mean content. It has been dry. We haven't served anyone in a month, Kevin. So I know you, Kevin, by the way, is working on a review of The Last of Us Season 2, and I will be playing that next week as well. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, one film that I haven't talked about yet was my favorite of the festival, which was Splitsville. Which, if you haven't seen The Climb, really enjoyable film. I gave that like an 8 out of 10. But this was my only film that I came out of and was like, that's a 10 out of 10. That is a 5-star on the first go around, because it was by far the best experience I've had all festival. Kevin, you're here now. I could have, like, it's basically was up to the same level as Broken Rage, and how much energy was in the room, in how many laughs it got, and how intense the laughs were, and how fucking funny this movie is. This movie is hilarious. I do have a bias because I'm the biggest stan whatever of Adria Arjano. I think she is gorgeous, but she's also very funny in this. I think Dakota Johnson is incredible, and shout out to Luke Hearfield. He got to interview like the 4 main people in the cast, so be on the lookout for that on his channel soon. I'm jealous because that would have been, I think I would have passed out. But yeah, and then the 2 highlights I think of this are still like the guys. Kyle Marvin is so funny. And yeah, for some reason he has nothing against showing his hog in the movie a bunch, because it's out a bunch, but I won't say more than that. I think this movie you can't really spoil, but it's basically about these 2 couples that then get a bit intertwined in the way where like one of them is breaking up, the other ones is like saying they do an open relationship, and then you just like let it all play out, and it is so like an open marriage. I can't say anything beyond like it was just fucking funny, and it might not be your thing, but if you look at like the people who've seen it who were at the festival, I think we all agreed that it was at least a good movie. To me, this was incredible. Like, this is at the moment I think probably my favorite film of the year. I really, really like this, and I'm glad that I got another film that I love coming out of Cannes, because other than sentimental value, I thought it was kind of a bit like not something that I would like be cheering about the whole year. Last year we had Anora, we had Perfect Days before, the year before we had After Sun. This is not on the same level as something like After Sun or Perfect Days for me. But that's maybe just because it is a comedy. I think comedies do have a bit of a harder hurdle to overcome for people to say like unanimously that they're amazing, because it's so subjective. What do you find funny? But this also, funnily enough, no, I don't want to say that. I'm saying something controversial, especially with Kevin in chat. I think it does have the best action sequence and Mission Impossible premiered at the festival. I know. But this had the best action sequence in my opinion. Like, I was so entertained. I don't even want to say like what the action sequence is. It's just, yeah. If it didn't have this on your radar, then well, joke's on you. You can't see it yet, although Neon has it. But what you can do in the meantime is watch The Climb, which is the same 2 guys, Kyle Marvin and Michelangelo Covino, who ride a bike. And there's also a short that is pretty good. So yeah. That's what you can do. I haven't seen Mission Impossible yet, so you can get away with it for now. No, he's gonna get me. And then one film that I enjoyed that I was way higher on than a lot of other people was Renoir from Chi Hayakawa, who had another film that premiered at the festival a couple of years back, and I also got to see it in Cannes in my first year that I was there. And I liked this quite a bit. This was a film that it was about encouraging people who are above the age of 75, or when they turn 75, to basically off themselves for the benefit of society. And obviously death at the very center of this film, and we got another film where death is at the very center of the film, with a kid who is losing losing the parent, basically battling cancer. The father is battling cancer, and her mother is consistently stressed out. And something about this film, I think, for a lot of people didn't click because it has a couple of moments that feel pretty out there for like how over the top it feels from moment to moment. That maybe don't seem as believable, and then the whole time this movie is holding back every bit of emotion through these characters that maybe you could say, yes, culturally there's a difference with Japan, but there was something on top of that on how much it was holding back and like not showing you the true emotions, or maybe emotions not being sort of, I don't know, like completely understood by the people, like the characters themselves. And then there was a moment towards the end of this film, again, no spoilers, where something just clicked for me, and that sort of pain of like I guess I can't really say it without spoiling a bit of it, but it's very much is about it is about loss, it is about death, and the way that it resonated with an 11-year-old girl losing one of her parents, and for me, someone who has the same experience as like a 9-year-old losing one of their parents. It was just something where it was like, it clicked for me. It's like, oh, you exactly get what it feels like, and you depicted it in a movie form. That the last time I felt that was during After Sun, and that captured it perfectly. Just like also, I think in a bigger way, this is way smaller, and it was just I couldn't stop crying towards the end of this film because I found it really beautiful, really moving. So yeah, this is not going to be for everyone. So maybe if you lost a parent, especially at a young age, this might be for you. Let's put that on the poster, I guess. You can quote me. But yeah. All right, what else is there? What do you want to talk about? Anyone want to know something about I don't know, I could talk more. No, I already talked about Sentimental Value, The Mastermind, maybe. Or Paul Mescal. I need exit 8 spots. Okay. So I still haven't played the game. It's kind of a shame because I've been back and I have no excuse. I've been here for like more than a day and I haven't played through the game. And the only reference point is Kevin, who I have, who exit 8. Yeah. Who has played it, and I think he said you finished it in like half an hour or something like that. So it's not like the longest game. And the way that this movie comes around is that it obviously has a really simple premise of like a repeating hallway that will lead you hopefully to an exit at a subway train station, and you got to figure out the anomalies and decide if you go forward or backward to hopefully ultimately get to exit 8. And it's such a simple premise that I think works really well when obviously when you play the game, you are like paying attention to the surroundings. It's like a puzzle solving thing. And when it's a movie, it's all about the atmosphere it creates in the way that it like shows the character uncovering certain things, the tension being there, and you can, I guess, you are giving the pacing for all of that, right? Where when you play a game, especially with these eerily horror undertones, you can take it in your own pace. You can rush through it, or you can completely take it in. And I think the way that it repeats all of these like that hallway, you would think that it would get pretty boring. It doesn't. I think this manages to stay fresh the entire way through, and it is part because that like sleek, just white hallway look and the yellow sign are really iconic, that it just feels like the production value is like it's well done. Something about it just really works. It feels iconic, and it also, I don't know anything about the game, but it doesn't stay in like one person's perspective. It does the narrative through a couple different ones, and that kind of changes it up a bit in a way that feels fresh. It like never it gets dull. I think it starts a bit rough because it does like the POV perspective until we like get the more outside look of it all. But it's just impressive in the way that it like shoots this one hallway and it's all like connected, right? So it's not really breaking. It's not really doing many cuts, if any. And that is just so stunning, and I can't wrap my head around how they did this, like just on a technical level, to get it right, like to change stuff up and where they stitched it together. It was just a really impressive movie, and yeah, I gotta play the game myself now. I hate the walking by guy. The walking guy by is yeah, I don't want to know, because I don't know if it's the same in the game and what his role is, but there's something to him that I quite enjoyed in what they did with him. It was good, very good, well made. And does it have a Toho? I don't know about release date, but this might be one where you'd have to be on the lookout for it on digital, I think, most likely. Kevin, you also want to know about this, right? The Italian Western movie that was surprisingly incredibly well done. I love this, and it's not just because Kevin has turned me on to end of sentence has turned me on to like Westerns more. This also has like a female lead character, which is pretty rare in Westerns that aren't like completely rounded out. Or I mean, we got the one with Vicky Creeps also, and Viggo Mortensen recently was also like she wasn't the lead though, but this is fully like her lead role, and I enjoyed her in it a lot. She was really good, and I like the incorporation of like the heads or tails, and it's basically them being on the run. I don't even know how much it says. Yeah, he becomes a symbol of a local uprising, so that's part of it. That's later in the movie, though. Pretty early on, he's accused of a husband's death, but yeah, knows a secret that finally could set him free. I think this log line is not great because this is kind of wrong. I think this is not considered a spoiler. Like, he's accused of her husband's murder, but she killed him. And then I think the implications of like this romance, and then him being recognized as like the uprising leader, when it wasn't him who did something or killed someone, who represented something larger, and that is like it works on so many levels. And then it's just a darn good Western, and it's more of like the trope of we are building towards the shootouts and all that, and then the like tale of revenge and getting like one up on other people. I like that a lot. It's just like played into the best tropes. It also is shot, I think it takes place in Italy, and the landscapes are incredible. It looks stunning. And I watched this with David, who I guess I don't follow on Letterboxd, but he was one of the I don't know, it wasn't him who had talked about this. I talked to someone else about it, but I met someone who was one of the few other people who had seen Horizon Part 2, and also agreed how much better it is than 1. But in the meantime, this one is pretty solid. And John C. Reilly, by the way, is also, he's okay. So their story is pretty serious, right? And then you clash that tone with John C. Reilly, who is just taking the piss out of everything. And I think like he was also in Gun in the, was it the opening, or no, it was the closing ceremony, I think. I don't even remember, but he like sung a whole song. So yeah, that was random. This is another one that I think is worth talking about. Left-Handed Girl. Keep this on your radar. Really good. She has worked as a producer on basically most of Sean Baker's films, and this is also co-written by him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and he edited it. It's well edited. Pretty simple, like 3 different generations, basically. I guess 2 generations with the mom, and then you got the 2 daughters, and them just trying to survive, and her having to basically be more of a grown-up early on, but she's like just super mad at her mom the whole time. This one's great. This is like I this could go even up. It has some parts that feel a bit like you are testing grounds as your debut feature film. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Oh no, never mind. She did make a film before, but she co-directed that one. But this was really solid, really good. I'm headed for the shower. Well, glad you keep us posted. I don't know much else about like what I say here before, but again, stay tuned for breakdowns of the different sections in video form, and then also reviews for single well for the movies. But another disappointment was Sons of the Neon Light. This one was, I can't say much beyond it just being a complete utter mess. There was no coherency to it at all. It was all over the place. I think it visually just kind of exploded into like bursts of violence that felt expensive, but felt like such a waste. This movie was a whole waste of like time. It was way too long. It was convoluted. Really disappointing. Because I also think the action wasn't good. It was like cut apart. Not limbs of the characters, but like cut apart on the editing floor. There was never anything good in this. It was just messy. So yeah, that was quite disappointing. I didn't like this one either. I think I was on the like alone on that thought though. I think it resembled some of the frustrations that I had with Emilia Perez, in specifically the way that I think the music was bad. And I think Emilia Perez had a lot of other issues. I think the music here is just bad again. It had a really big opening like set piece. This is like a musical set around the Chilean movement, feminist movement at a university, when there's a ton of accusations towards the professors and certain students that about like sexual assault. And it just doesn't balance that tone for me like at all with all of the music, and I think the performances were pretty atrocious. But I think the writing was also bad, the music is bad. I think to me like this fell flat and was quite annoying the whole way through. But if you connect with it, obviously there's a good message at the core. I just don't think that musical is the way to go about like telling it at all. I think it seemed to me tone deaf, but I think it had the intention in the right place, because like at one point it calls out like, oh, what is a movie about this directed by a man? I was like, and it's like pulling back, like breaking the fourth wall. I was like, okay. Like it is self-aware enough to like poke out those things, but I just thought it was bad. But again, people might have a really different opinion than I have on this one. But yeah. This was a smaller one, like that I quite enjoyed. Un certain regard, about a poet who just wants to be a poet, but he can't be a poet in the world, man. How are you a professional poet? And he takes on a basically an understudy, someone who has maybe the potential to be a poet and wants to like bring her up, but his intentions are right, but he's just like a creepy old guy in a way as well. He's just very odd. This one was so funny, like one of the funniest movies of the festival, and yeah, it was really well done. It might not be for everyone. It might test your patience, but I loved it. And then yeah, what else is there? Like another favorite of mine, I got to see this through a screener, was Love Letters, Ella Rumpf and Monia Chakri, who are having a baby together, and Nadia is pregnant, actually giving birth to their daughter. And this is right around the time, I think in 2017 or 2014, I'm blanking on it, I have to check my notes, where where it was legalized that same-sex couples could get married, and for adoption this it hadn't caught up yet, and I don't even know. I'll definitely check this before I do the review of what the current law is for this, but basically the way that they go about it is like, if they're married and they adopt a kid, if they're married and then one of them has a kid, the other one still has to adopt it. Just because they're married doesn't mean that that's their kid, which yeah is a bit odd. the way that works, and she basically has to des preuves d'amour, so like love letters to, well, not love letters, but she has to get letters from other people who basically saying that she's a good mother. And she also has like this sort of torn relationship with her own mom, who is like a successful pianist. That's like her profession as an artist, that puts her like career above her daughter, or that's like how it seems to Celine. This movie all around I think was really moving. It was really well written and performed, just a great drama, and that's my type of shit. A bit of romance, bit of drama, a bit of everything, bit of also comedy, I guess, part of it as well. Not as much comedy, but just really well done. Has an interesting subject, like a topic at the center of it all, of like navigating this time where like having a kid as a same sex couple is so difficult. So yeah, loved it. And I think about most of the other stuff I'll talk about separately in videos. Again, I saw pretty much all of these. I think a bunch of the competition films, like Young Mothers, like Eagles of the Republic, Mother and Child, Two Prosecutors, A History of Sound as well, The Little Sister. A bunch of these were kind of okay-ish. They didn't blow me away. I think one of the better ones was definitely A Little Sister, where also Nadia Meleti got the actor prize, which I was really happy about. I think she nails this role. It's also another like queer like story about someone who's grows up as the younger sister, who's usually someone who's a bit like more shy, more taken aback, has a bunch of male friends at school, and hasn't really found herself or given herself the space to discover herself. And when she does that through someone she meets, it like basically sees her like come a bit more into her own skin. And so it's just a really well done coming of age movie. Hafsia Herzi is also someone who's mainly been acting, and I've loved some of her stuff that she was in. Le Ravissement, so a couple of years ago, premiered in Cannes, and I did interview the director about it, Iris Kaltenbeck, and for Kevin and I, Alex Manenti is someone who we love to see pop up. He's usually, well, last year he was in a ton of films coming out of Venice, and also interviewed, I guess, two people who directed him, because I also have an interview up with The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, which got an Oscar nomination last year. I think the only other film that got a bunch of buzz was The History of Sound, especially before the festival, because it is Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal in the lead roles. This was well done, I think, in a way that it like captures these two that are going around at one point in their life, traveling into the lands to like collect songs, and that part of the film is definitely the best part of the film. And it also is like the best part in their lives, and then it ends up being the whole thing ends up being about that time being so great, and when that is done, what happened to them afterwards. And I think it loses itself a bit like in the part after, because we spent more time with one of the characters than the other, and by the end of it I was like sighing and being a bit frustrated with how the story went in pretty predictable ways, as like, you know, something said in 1917 or like in World War One time period, and to I guess people who are involved with each other and after same sex. I guess I don't know how much of that is already kind of given away. I think I knew that it was that, but maybe you don't going in, so I don't know. So yeah, I think those are observations of like the sounds and the cultural like things people make that seem like they reflect this sort of collective human experience through song and through these tales, these folk songs. Like that part of it is so beautiful, it's so interesting, that I wish the movie was even more about that than it was about like the relationship between these two. But that's also the part that they connect with each other the most. So yeah, this was enjoyable. Some good performances, but when it comes to Josh O'Connor, I did like the other movie that he had at the festival a bit more, The Mastermind with Kelly Reichardt. If you hear the words Kelly Reichardt and a crime thriller, those two things don't go together. She does like really small movies. So you got to go in with those sort of expectations. I just really dug the vibe of it all. Like I love like the way this film looks, like that film grain look, setting of the like 70s. I think it's like, it feels like a bit more like 60s, but I guess, hey, I'm no specialist. I guess it is the 70s. And about like him stealing a bunch of like paintings, and like first big heist, and is it the first and only heist, or is there more to it? And it's so much about like the shortcomings of him as a person. Like it stays so grounded in what it would be like to hatch out a plan to like rob the local museum, and the repercussions of that it never loses itself by over dramatizing anything. And that just feels so rewarding when it's not just to be understated, but to have that statement in the lack of statements, if that makes sense. Like it is so small, but the characters still feel like very lived in. John Magaro only pops up in the movie like really shortly, but really for a brief period. This is basically like a Josh O'Connor really solo movie for most of it, and I could lose myself in like his eyes, the way that he like depicts his character. So yeah, a great one. And then yeah, I think Dossier 137 was pretty solid. I think some people were saying that it was like pretty straightforward and boring, but it's about an internal investigator, when it's about like a bunch of demonstrations that are like, it's based on you know, real events in the Paris streets of like the demonstrations that happened, I think in the early, well, I don't know if it was 2020s sometimes, at some point, but regardless, when like the police turns like a blind eye towards things, and how difficult it is to basically get anyone to kind of confess to something, to get some repercussions like in place for them, like to get them suspended, to lose their job, for the lasting impact that they have on other people's lives in the blink of a moment, and they don't even consider it a second time because they feel like they come from this place of authority of where they get to do it, and everyone in the street was out like, you know, rioting and looting and whatever, so it's like justified to change their whole lives with just snap of decision like violence that they just do to just demonstrators. And like that lack of, I guess, accountability is being investigated here, and how often you brush up, or like it gets immediately like this, very much this thin blue line is like tested by the smallest, like, you know, bit of like controversy. It's always like, no, we gotta stick together. So it's a very frustrating movie, and how much power this like the police institution holds over being held accountable for anything. So yeah, I thought this was a really well made movie, and I really like Lea Drucker. She was also in another film that was the opening film of Semaine de la Critique, L'Intérieur, well, the interest of Adam, or Adam's sake. And I found it interesting that the two through lines in Gun for Lea Drucker were that she plays a character who goes way too far in the way that she like investigates the police there, like where she oversteps some boundaries and makes it more difficult for her in the long run, because she like truly cares about it, but it's not like generally accepted to go that far. The same way here, where she's a nurse, where there's a mother coming in that's not feeding her kid and telling her like, oh, food is bad, other than like little liquid nothingness that she gives to him. And he comes in having like broken a bone because he's so like he's like suffering from malnutrition. And she goes to like really strong lengths, like this nurse played by Lea Drucker, to basically give the mom as much possibility to dig herself out of the hole that she consistently is digging for herself, but also for her kid. And it's just a great depiction of like empathy and how difficult the job of a nurse can be. I think it's less about like the nurse job. We've gotten better depictions of what it is like to work in the sort of care, like healthcare space, with something Swiss film like Late Shift, which is yet to come out, I think, internationally. That's great. But also The Pit is amazing. This is obviously, a pediatrician on the basis of dealing with children. But yeah, also, maybe a familiar face here if you've seen Mickey 17. She plays the mother, really unrecognizable, and quite well done. Yeah, anything else that I missed? I think that's pretty much it. Let me have a look if I have, again, post your questions if you got any left, but I think we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. People were curious to like why I watched this many movies, and it is basically, for me, currently, if I look at, not gonna disclose the exact amount, but I basically have no money left in my bank account. This is an endeavor that obviously the coverage that we do here on the channel is not recouping any money. We're really small. We don't have like ads or ad rates or a sponsor or anything. So for me, I'm doing this because I'm truly interested in just catching the latest. I would feel great FOMO if I don't go to these festivals, and I'm very privileged that I get to do it and I talk about it like this and recap it on the podcast and make reviews and get to go there. But for me to not maximize the amount of movies that I get to see there would be a waste. And I think there's a good counterpoint for that. Is like, I think for a bunch of people that I talked about this, was like they also want to make it an experience for them, and some are also not getting paid to be there, so they want to make the most of it and just have a great time as well. And for me, I was just like, maybe I'm just that kind of sicko that I just want to watch movies all day, every day, and I don't have a problem with that. Like, the lack of content on this channel and on my channel often comes back to me wanting to see everything, and then I don't even have time to like write up reviews and record them and edit them and publish them. So I just noticed that again this year, that I think this was never as easy to watch like 70 movies from a festival without like any bigger trouble. And I think it speaks to me just having found the role of what I like to do at a festival, which is just watch as much as I can, and it's really enjoyable. But might not be that for everyone. And yeah, I guess, yeah, no, the other thing that people sometimes ask me is like, what's the difference between press and industry? And I did go as like industry or professional, like that sort of accreditation the first year. And also if you can go, to the festival if you don't have an accreditation. And you can go to those public screenings, I think for some of them, if you're not accredited. But again, what some people do is like they hold up these like signs and they ask for free tickets, because you usually have it all in a ticketing app. If you're impressed, you get like, you book tickets. And at some point, maybe if there is a demand for it, I could make a bit of a breakdown on how to best like attend the festival if you are doing it as press, because I do, over the last couple of years, do have a couple of tips of like how to maximize the experience there and get the most out of it, get all the tickets you want and all of that. But I think it works for some. I haven't really talked to a lot of them of like how many. I did talk to more of them last year, where a bunch of them told me that they did have a success of getting in, and sometimes they do hand out like these tickets that you show and that are given to like people who work in the industry, and some of them then don't go to the screenings, so sometimes they end up finding someone who can go into the screenings in their place. So you might have success that way, but again, I think I still recommend you do the 3-day pass and try to get in through that way. I think that's the easiest way to attend, and you can basically if you're lucky, see about like, you know, 10 films if you're really lucky, to basically book all of them. The thing is, I think if you go for 3 days, I don't know when you get access, but the way you book screenings beforehand, at least through press and also through the industry, I think everyone does that, is 4 days beforehand. And I don't know when people get access to it. I think from what I've heard, you get access to it afterwards. So you can only get tickets like after they've basically been booked out, and you got to wait for them to open up again. But yeah, that's basically, I think, all I got to say about Gun today. Again, you can also drop your comments on the live stream here. And over the next couple of days, like week and a half-ish, you can expect all of those reviews to come in for something like Die My Love, Sentimental Value, The Mastermind, but also films that I haven't talked about today, like The Secret Agent or Romeria. I'll talk a bit more about Alpha, Young Mothers, The Phoenician Scheme, all of those films we will be covering. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. And if you see me at any festival, upcoming festival, come say hi. It's always fun to meet people. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. I can't wait for the next Gun to go on. I did have that on the like second to last day. I was like, okay, I'm finally over. This has been a marathon. I'm glad to take a break. And then like one movie after, I was like, oh, I could do this for a month. I could never stop. This is the best. So yeah, some great films coming to the silver screen in 2025 and then next year, so be on the lookout for that. Check out my ranked list and update your watch list, because from Cannes there's a bunch of stuff to be added onto it. But all right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon on the channel, and I promise we'll publish some videos again. I know it's been May, no videos on the channel, but June, I promise you, we'll have a ton coming out. But yeah, all right, I'll see you soon. Have a good one. Bye.